Hey YouTube, this is Jordan here to bring you guys a video on the 20-hour farms, which have not been released yet. But I kind of wanted to talk about it before it releases so then I can help you guys out with the way it's going to work. What we do know about the new farming is it's going to use magic seeds. So the current magic seeds that we use, now fertilizer affects magic seeds, and what fertilizer does is it basically speeds up your growth time. However, it's not going to affect the 20-hour magic seeds, which are going to get updated. I'm not sure if it's going to be next week or possibly the week after. I believe they said that it was going to be delayed, but let's kind of talk about it. So 20-hour seeds, magic seeds, and going to be really good. This is actually going to be the best way to push contribution points. So if you're like me that loves pushing contribution points, we just hit 550, trying to get to 600, and farming's basically going to be one of the best methods to getting your contribution points up. It's going to beat cooking, it's going to beat alchemy, it's going to beat gathering. It's basically just going to be the best for the amount of time. And what I mean by that is basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a farming alt for this. You're also going to want to pick up farms. Now, I have a farm video, beginner to pro, which I'll probably link down below for like new players trying to get into farming. However, the magic seeds will change, and I'm not sure what they're going to end up doing with unknown seeds. But I'll go ahead and go over to my farmer, and also what we can do is we can kind of scroll down here. So this says when crops grow within their optimal temperature range, their growth time will be unified to 20 hours. The amount of harvest and farming XP you receive will also increase to match the longer growth period. So basically, you're going to yield a lot more materials. Essentially, if it takes 4 hours to grow a magic seed, then you're looking at about 6 times the amount of materials. I'm pretty sure they said 4 to 5 times the materials. Actually, now that I think about it, I think that's what this stands for. So 4 to 5 times the materials, and it's going to take 20 hours to grow. So now, basically, if you don't play the game and sit at your computer like 18 hours a day, this will be a huge benefit for players that maybe only farm like 1 or 2 times a day, which is like me. I go to work, I sleep. So this is going to be a giant buff to, if you want to call me a casual player, casual players. It's going to be really, really good. So now that we're on my farmer, I'm going to kind of show an example of like the current magic seeds. So we're going to just go ahead and kill the pest off these. So we just got a CP buff to farming. However, it's not applied to the 20-hour buff, which they said we're going to get more. So what I'm thinking is that if we were to kill these pests, maybe we can expect 4 to 5 times more of the blush leaves since we're doing the 20-hour magic seeds. So we're looking at possibly 15 blush leaves that you would get instead of 3. But that's not the big thing. The big thing is when you breed. So if we hit breed right here, we already get around, what is this, 30, 60, about 80, 90-ish leaves. And once we get the 20-hour seeds, you're to get 4 to 5 times this amount of leaves. So instead of like 80, we'll just round it to 80-ish, times, we'll do 4.5 4, 5, 360 leaves per seed, which is insane. All right, if I go ahead and breed this one gave us 40, 60, 80, 100. This one actually gave us 100. So it looks like it could be anywhere between 80 to 100 and then times 4 to 5, which means that we could get anywhere between 300 to 500 is what I'm kind of estimating around per seed. 3 to 500. So if we just think about that, that would be like 800 as an average out of those current breeds, 800 per farm. So 8, 16, 24, right? So basically, if we multiply that, let's just pretend we got 800 after the change, the 20-hour seeds, and then we multiply it by 10 of our farms, well, we could potentially get somewhere around, I don't think it's going to be 8,000, but I think it'll be somewhere between 4 to 6,000. Maybe it's 4 to 8,000, roughly, blush leaves. So this is basically going to be the best way to push farming. Or not to push farming, to push contribution points for active time. So basically you'll be spending about 2 minutes doing these magic seeds, like doing the whole entire farm. So if we do this, this is kind of like what it would look like. So breed, and breed. Now, on top of that, you're also going to get 4 to 5 times the materials that you harvest. So if we were to harvest, for example, these bluffer mushrooms, we get 169. So we could just say we're going to get 4 to 5 times. Again, we'll just do 169 times 4.5. And we're looking at 760 per harvest. Let me see if I have 2 more bluff. I do. So we could harvest this, maybe get a better average, up to 180. So I think the first one was 169. Yeah. So 180 times 4.5, looking at 810. So anywhere between 700 to 800. And if you multiply that times 10, so if we took, 800 times 10, then we're looking at, you could get around 8,000. So it's going to be a massive farming buff. If we look at the price currently of these, right now these bluffers are 52,000. And if we were to get 8,000 of these, we're looking at around 400 mil. And you'll be able to do this in roughly around 2 minutes. So if you're making now obviously there's tax. So if you want to tax it, then we could say 360 mil in 2 minutes. And if we were to times this by 30, we would get our money per hour activity. So with the current market, these bluffer mushrooms, if I was to grow it with the new magic seeds, I would make roughly around 10 bill an hour. However, right, you're not doing an hour's worth of farming, but you're doing it in the 2 minutes. But that's how you would basically break it down to how much money you would be making. So what we could probably say is going to happen to the market when it comes to farm mats is these are probably going to dump. These are going to dump. It's a giant supply increase. If we think about how many people actually farm, there's tons of players that actually don't farm anymore because it hasn't really been that great. There are some people that still farm, but now I think a lot of people are going to be farming. Whether you want the materials or if you just want the silver, selling them to the market, more than likely a lot of this stuff is going to crash. So some advice, I would probably sell farm stuff before it comes out. at least whenever they do announce that we're going to get them, you'll have basically a week to sell your stuff before they come into play, because then the supply is going to be increased. And then if you decide you want to breed, I'm not sure if we're going to get 4 to 5 times the seeds. We might. So mainly what you will end up doing is you'll end up breeding and then harvesting, breeding, harvesting. And if you have too many seeds that you have acquired, then you'll then just be harvesting them. So it's something to consider. I'm definitely going to be farming for contribution. This is going to be a massive, massive, huge way to push contribution. So if maybe you're just a grinder and you want to get in, but maybe you still do Imperials and you're like, well, I want to push up my contribution, but I don't want to cook and I don't want to do alchemy. This could be a way that you could push up your contribution by farming. Oh, another thing I also forgot to mention is if for some reason these markets collapse, which I'm assuming PA is going to eventually increase demand in cooking and alchemy, probably do Imperial buffs if I had to guess. That's what I'm assuming is probably coming. We'll have to see if it is going to come or not. But yeah, so basically we got 1,187. We multiply that by 4.5. We're looking at around 5,300 byproducts, which is huge. It's actually insane. People are going to be pushing contribution very, very fast, extremely fast. So yeah, if you guys like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.